Oh, 100%. I wish I had told the truth when asked. I mean, but we're fucking so far past that.
And why did you not tell the truth in that moment?
Yeah, well, like I shared earlier, you know, it's like I had convinced myself of probably 16 different fucking reasons. The primary ones were, this has nothing to do with my message. You think that we're going to talk about this instead of the actual issues? You know, we're going to talk about this instead of... People today go to a job that they hate. They come home to a job to a life they don't love. They sedate themselves, they distract themselves. Most people just don't fucking like their lives. You think we're gonna talk about this instead of that? You know, we're gonna talk about like these easy, accessible things to do to go kick ass. You think we're gonna talk about this? You know, people would just straight up say, hey, are you on steroids? And I would just say, hey, did you know 4,000 people a day kill themselves? Which one you want to talk about?
You would also say, like, no, I'm not.
Oh, 100%, but I'm giving you examples of...
you know what's more effective, though? You telling your personal story. Like
I know that.
That, like, now, like...
Bro, you don't even know my... Like, you're getting to know my personal story. You know, I hope to be able to share some stuff today.
Please.
Yeah.
That's why you're here. Like, I genuinely want to know.
You know, so, you know, my kids asked why. And a lot of what I shared on the apology video was just kind of a replica of what I shared with my kids. But really, I think what it all comes down to, like the real why is, you know, I got to crush myself in the gym multiple times a day just to feel like I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm worth it, like I fucking earned it, you know? And trust me, this is not like just one time a day. Like this is multiple times a day. And somebody said, okay, why do you gotta do all that shit? You know? And I'm like, oh my God, you know what? I've never dealt with this before. And again, this is a silver lining. Now I have the chance to go deep.
Yeah.
When I talk about my 10 to 15-year-old self, when you guys fucking understand, you know, the first day of middle school for me was some fucking guy who looked like he was 35 with a mustache and everything. Hawks a loogie on his fucking hand, smacks me in the face, and I didn't know what the fuck, where I was. But what would happen at least once a week is I just got blindsided, I'd get knocked out, and I would wake up, and I'd have my book bag, the bell had already rung, nobody's in the hallway, and I gotta figure out, okay, what fucking period is it? You know, and this is my entire fucking middle school. Not once did I stand up for myself. Not once did I fight back or push. And when the guys would come, I would just walk back, step back, and say, you don't want to fight me, I'm a pussy. And this is true, you know, and I thought for years, I was like, I'm gonna take that shit to the grave. You know, I think a real defining moment for me was in middle school. This kid, Chris, challenged me to a fight. For him to enter into a gang, he had to get into a fight. So some people told me about this thing, and I'm like, well, why would I do that? Well, I've never gotten in a fight. You think I'm gonna fight in front of a whole fucking gang and do all this shit, you know? And so I immediately was like, of course I'm not gonna do this. You know, my brother happened to be around, who's an older brother. He was with a friend, Justin, and his mom. And his mom said, you have to do this. And my dad died when I was a little kid, and I don't have any memory of him. I had never had a male mentor in my life, but she said, you gotta do this. Justin said, you gotta do this. My brother said, you gotta do this. Hey, you're strong. And I'm thinking, I can't believe you guys are fucking tricking me into doing this. She drives me to the fight in her white Econoline van. And I remember getting out of this van, my heart was beating 1,000,000 miles a fucking minute. I see him, I see it looked like 30 people, I'm sure it was 15 behind him. And I remember walking up to him really fast. And I remember I'm just gonna give it everything I got. And I came a mile fucking back here, and I was probably a mile away from this guy, and I swung so fucking hard, I threw myself to the ground. so I'm on the ground, he's coming up to me, you know, to kick me, and everyone wore steel-toe boots back then. And so he's coming up to kick me, and as he's coming up to kick me, I picked him up, and I manhandled him, and I realized how fucking strong I am. And then I was able to mount him, and I was able to pin his elbows, his arms under my knees, and I had my left hand on his neck, and I had my right hand cocked back, and I looked in his eyes, and I saw how helpless, how hopeless, how pathetic, how scared he was. And I saw myself, and I couldn't fucking do it. I couldn't do it. And I remember getting up, kind of running back to the van, and when I got in, everyone was kind of proud of me. You know, everyone was throwing rocks at the van. The windshield got cracked, and I was so worried about her van. And she looked back at me. Justin's mom looked back at me, and she's like, she said she's proud of me. And you know what I knew right then? I was like, you know what is fucking worthless? Is I had felt what seemed like my whole life.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
And if I could do that, what else am I capable of doing?
So that was the spark.
You know what? Again, I know I haven't dealt with this because...
Wait, did you get to join the gang? Like, how did,
No. And sometimes I think, God damn, I should have just done it. I would have gotten so much more respect if I had just done that. And that guy, when I let him up, he didn't come after me because he fucking knew.
You knew what time it was, yeah.
He knew.
I have way more respect for you doing it like that. I could fuck you up. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
But you know what, like, so I doubled down then on working. I'd already been working out for a while.
Right.
But now I doubled down on that. You
Yeah.
know, now I'm like, oh my God, I can actually control outcomes in my life. And well, fast forward all these years, that's not changed. You know, it's like I still need to do that to feel. I don't go to sleep at night feeling pathetic. What I do is what's required of me to do is to kill myself, to crush myself, to destroy myself enough times to be like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah. Like, to me, this is way more relatable. And I think that, like, I think, you know, you said a couple things.
Well, first of all, I didn't know any of this. You know, like.
Of course, you're processing it, you're becoming self-aware.
People are asking why, and I'm like, well, I don't know, because I got to get in the gym. Well, why do you got to do that? I'm like, I don't fucking know until
recently. Yeah. But I think you said something interesting, like you grew up without a father. You didn't have, like, so to me, you're becoming, like, the almost cartoonish version of what a man is, right? But it's lacking the vulnerability that we connect with.
Yeah, that's tough, man.
And, like, a lot of times we don't know that. Notice that. Like, I remember with my wife, I'll tell you a personal story with my wife. We were trying to have a kid. The first month we're trying to have a kid. We didn't have a kid. The first month. My wife is a little bit type A or whatever that shit is. Like, it needs to happen. Yeah. And I'm grateful we didn't have a kid first because I was doing a lot of drugs earlier in that month. So our kid would have been fucking whack, right? Like that.
Yeah.
But
that's how all of ours were conceived. We were partying like crazy, by the way. That's why they are the way they are.
Well, look at there.
No actual drugs, just a lot of alcohol. They're great, by the way.
Good cover up. Liver Queen, calm down.
Did you see her? Oh my God.
Like alcohol. Yeah. Okay, but so we got this test done on my sperm, right? And my sperm is great except for like grade of motility or something like that. I don't even know what the fuck it is. She's calling around, oh, it's how fast they swim or something like that. She's freaking out, right? And my reaction to her is machismo. It is, hey, we're gonna be great. Don't worry, we got this. I'm like, yo, if you want to do more tests or go to a specialist, but don't worry, I know for a fact we got this. She's interpreting that as I'm not taking this seriously.
You don't care.
And I don't care. What I'm doing is covering up my vulnerability, which is, will she not love me if I can't get her pregnant? Will she think I'm less of a man? Will my wife not be attracted to me? So I'm trying to cover up the real feeling I have, right? Which is being terrified that the woman I love could stop loving me because I can't do this fucking primal thing. I shared that with her the other night. She fucking started crying. So I would never think differently, whatever. And I wish that I led with the vulnerability. To me, I'm really glad that you're coming on right now and like saying the true reasons why you're even pushing this lifestyle. It's to cover something up. You said that it was like 85% of people deal with like low self-esteem. You're wrapping your self-esteem into something that I think is unhealthy. Yeah. You have a wife, you have a family, you have successful businesses. You don't need to lift heavy shit 2 times a day to feel good about you. Were you a good dad that day?
Yeah.
Were you good to your friends? Did you care about people?
Yeah.
Did you provide for people? Like, those are the things that I'm looking at and going, that's a king, not someone who can fucking bench press.
Yeah.
Because if bench pressing makes you a man, what the fuck am I? But I think I'm a good man.
Yeah.
So maybe, maybe part of the ancestral tenets is recognizing what you're doing and how you are being a good man, which is providing and loving the people and caring for the people around you.
Right.
Maybe that's something that you need to take note of, man. And
Beautiful.
Leading with that fucking vulnerability that has really transformed this interview.
Yeah.
You telling me the things you went through, all the suicides that you had to deal with, made that real, not an excuse when you said it. I think vulnerability is the only thing we can connect to as human beings. We look up to the person who seems infallible, but we don't connect to them.
No.
I feel more connected to you now, man.
Thank you for sharing.
Despite your stink.
Going through the whole, like, you have to, everything happened, you get exposed. What was the conversation with your kids like? And how did they respond?
The conversation with my kids was almost identical to the apology email, the apology video, because we sat down at the table and I looked at them and, you know, I told them that I lied to them. And fuck, man.
Were they like, why the fuck would we been eating all this liver bullshit? Give me some goddamn Skittles or something like that. This is disgusting. I'm dying. Why am I eating bone marrow? Give me a hamburger.
At the end of the conversation, they said that they're not eating liver or testicles that day. You know?
We're boycotting balls today, Dad.
But that's a conversation I had with them is I've been lying to you. And I'm on steroids.
Yeah.
I was on steroids, I'm on steroids. Here's why I justified it. All that was wrong, you know, and I feel horrible about doing that, you know, and probably I regret most, like, I feel like I've let a generation down, you know, of young people and my kids, you know, to mislead them. So what I said to them is almost identical to the apology video. And, you know, and then Liver Queen's like, you guys understand? And they're like, yeah, we understand. I said, you guys understand also that there's going to be a lot of comments to you guys about what a piece of shit your dad is. There's going to be a lot of other comments, grown men saying hurtful stuff to you guys. And, you know, I know my job as a dad. It's pretty simple. It's to affirm my kids with the depth of challenge, worth, and potential so that one day they come to believe in themselves. And so I have to also protect them along the way. I've not yet completed that job, right?
Do you regret putting them in videos and stuff before that?
Do I regret it?
Yeah.
No, I don't, because my kids have such a unique story to tell. You know, one of my kids, Rad, has been through this incredible health crisis that has been recovered because of ancestral living. And you know how many other kids are going to be able to learn about this because of his exposure, his ability to tell that story.
I could also see it. Jordan Peterson and his daughter went through a similar thing. I don't know. His daughter was battling a lot of, I don't know what the diseases were, but she went on a strictly meat diet.
Yeah.
Do you hear about this?
Yeah.
And I think Jordan even went on a strictly meat diet. Like, it's just meat and fucking water.
Yeah.
That's it. And he said it's really alleviated a lot of depression. Like, she had a bunch, I don't know if it was like an autoimmune disease or something like that.
I think it was something to that effect.
And she said that is completely, cleaned that up. So clearly there are things that you can do to augment whatever situation has been presented by your body. And while I see on the outside someone going, oh, this guy's exploiting his kids for his business, I could also see from the inside you going, someone else might have fucking kids who can't breathe, and they're gonna get to see how my kids' lives completely changed doing this ancestral living. Yeah. And I think that is the beautiful thing about vulnerability and honesty. But you can't have the vulnerability with the character.
Yeah.
And I wonder if moving forward, we get to see more Brian Johnson.
You know what? This is my commitment. You know, I've had enough people close to me who have said the best podcast you ever did was Diary of a CEO, because this is the one that you were the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I thought, are you serious? Like, and then I would ask 5 other people, and then most of them said the same thing, and I'm like, holy shit, you know, like, I'm learning something, you know, and so it's not real easy. I'd never had any exposure in the public eye. I had always been a very private person. I never wanted to actually do this. You know, it wasn't until I had enough conversations, people coming over to my house saying, what y'all do is fucking crazy. What you guys do, they need to make a movie about you. You need to go on social media.
Oh, yeah.
And then you hear that enough times, and I'm like, you know, like we went out to butcher a cow at Liver King Ranch, and then after taking everything out of it, we put our kid inside of the cow, because they've done this in a movie. You know,
Star Wars?
Revenant, I believe, with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, yeah.
He gets inside of a horse. And so then Rad puts his head out. We all take a picture. And you're like, oh, this is what we do. We're having a good time. Everybody gets bloody. Everybody is has their hand on the animal and has the respect for the animal. Yeah. And you hear that enough times, like, okay, fuck it. You know what? Like, I think you might have a point, because the message, the vision of all my companies is the same. You know, it's to acknowledge how desperately people are hurting, and there's a simple solution. It's called ancestral living, right? And how can I do a better job at this? And let me try the social media thing. And so we started trying the social media thing, and I'm like, wow, you know, like this is working out. But not having any experience sharing all my private shit. Yeah. You know, I'm sharing everything. And I appreciate you saying that. It seems like I know how to handle myself on a podcast, you know, because this was amongst what I was terrified most to do. You know, I mean, if you look at some of my first videos, they're horrific, you know, and so this is what I'm figuring out, is how to blend, you know, my truest self, you know, and to be vulnerable, you know, and this is what I say a primal is. It's your wild, raw, first version self, your undomesticated self. And when you can be vulnerable and connect, you know, like immediately, instead of telling lies and being cool and all that other shit. It's like, there's so much more that comes from that. I know this.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's taken this experience to say, okay, like, enough people have spoken, and this is my commitment, you know, is to share it all. Especially the vulnerable pieces. Because you know what? Like, not every day I wake up saying, it's prime time. I don't feel like it. I say it. I say it. And, you know, there's a lot of days I wake up and I feel like shit. And every once in a while, I've said this on my story. I'm like, I woke up today and I feel like shit.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go force myself to get in the cold plunge to feel better. And then I would get DMs.
That's more motivational to me.
Yeah.
Well, because I feel like
shit.
I feeling like that more than I wake up saying it's prime time or whatever you say.
Well, thank you for saying, because this is what I'm realizing. I've gotten enough feedback to just be like, you know what? Be 100% honest about how you're always feeling. And I've gotten favorable feedback about, hey, you feel like, oh, guess what? You're a fucking human too. I go through that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got enough DMs through this process of people that were fans, haters, and left, and now are fans again, hearing some of the story right now.
Yeah.
And so I think I've been really encouraged just to say, and also to want to teach my kids this too, you know, just like, be completely yourself. Be vulnerable. Let it all out. It's not always prime time.
Yeah.
And to that point, the guys I know with the best relationship with their dad, it's a vulnerable relationship. They don't look at him as some perfect superhero. And if they look at you like that and then they fuck up, then they're going to be like, look at my dad is perfect and I'm such a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And it actually is a detriment to them. So being vulnerable with them is the best thing you can do, I think.
Yeah, and that is really one of the silver linings in this is for them to see what I'm going through right now. You know, to be able to talk to them about that. And I do think that's going to really make our relationship closer.